Hello everybody, this is attorney Jesus Martinez here. If you are new here, consider subscribing. We make videos with immigration tips and information. And in this video, I know that there's been several people that have requested it, and I wanted to make a video that shows you how to fill out the DACA application on your own. Now, keep in mind, this information isn't legal advice, just because in order to give legal advice, I need to give specific advice for your specific case. Since this is general information, I am not representing you. I'm not giving you legal advice on your specific matter, on your specific case. But if this helps you in filling out your DACA application, great. But if you need extra help, consider contacting us. Consider contacting a nonprofit in your area that you trust. But hopefully this is helpful and informative. If you're wondering, where do you get the information that you need, where do you get the forms that you need to fill out, if you go on the USCIS website, you type in DACA USCIS, you type in I-821D, you'll find it. But once you're here, these are the forms you need. You need the form I-821D, the I-765, the I-765 worksheet, or 765W. The G1145 is not a requirement, but it is helpful just so you can get a little bit more information as to when USCIS receives the application. But this is everything you need. Like I said, this is for initial applicants. For people that are renewing, you probably already know about all of what forms are needed. If you're not too sure how to fill it out, like I said, speak with an attorney or a nonprofit. But download all these the required forms. And if you want the G1145, the 765W is required. And once you have the screen, then here are the forms. So the way I put it in order, the first form is the G1145. If you're going to fill it out, it's relatively straightforward. You put your full name, full first name, middle name, last name. Whether you use your maiden name, whether you use your legal name, it's not too important here. What this form is so that immigration can send you a text or an email confirming that they've received the application. That's all it is. Whether they're, whether you use your middle name or not, or just the middle initial, it's not gonna matter too much. They're just gonna text you. That's all it is for. Now, the next form, and also this is the way that I put them in order when they are filed. First, the G1145, the 821, 765, 765W, and then after that over here, this is where you would, put your evidence. So if you were to print it out, this is the way I would stack them. And then afterwards, I would put the evidence. For this part right here, if you're doing it on your own, you are not going to fill this out. It states to be completed by an attorney or accredited representative, if any. So you would put that information here. And if you don't know what an accredited representative is, you don't need to worry. If they are, they will fill this out. But if you're doing it on your own, it's fine to leave this blank. You don't need to put anything there. You're filing for your first time. Initial request. I'm requesting initial request consideration of deferred action for childhood arrivals. You've never applied before. You want to get DACA. This is your first time applying. Initial request. The next part, your full legal name. Now, this is your legal name. So if you're married and you change your name, you put your legal name. Whatever your legal name is, it may not even apply to you. It may just be that you've never changed your name, you've never gotten married, you're single, you're still in high school, etc. You put your full birth name. That is your legal name. Now, the mailing address, where you receive mail. You may maybe have a P.O. box. You may live in one direction but have a P.O. box. If your P.O. box is where you receive mail, you put that here. If you receive mail where you live, you put that here. If you're not too sure, you could put a safe location where you know that you will receive mail. For example, there's people that live in apartments. They're not too sure whether they're going to move, whether they're going to be there for the next several months. So for those people, it might make more sense to, put their parents' mailing address or an aunt or an uncle, someone that has a more stable, permanent home. If that's the case, put that address, not a problem. And I mean, I guess just to fill it out so you can see, I will do that here. You know, there's not really anything magical to it. This is the information. Are you now, or have you ever been in removal proceedings, or do you have a removal order issued in any other context? So, I mean, for this, if you've been in immigration court, you're going to know. If you've been in front of an immigration judge, you're going to know. If you don't, you know, speak with an attorney. If you're not too sure, maybe something did apply. You spoke with some sort of immigration official, with some judge, you don't really remember. It'd be helpful to speak with an attorney to get that information. But if you know you were born in your foreign country, you're born in a country outside of the US, you came here as a kid, you're still young, you just gone to school, that's all you remember, it's very unlikely that you were yourself ever in removal proceedings. It may be possible, but it's generally unlikely. So are you now, or have you ever been in removal proceedings? If it's, you know, depends on your case, it's often no. I wouldn't be able to tell you in your case, you know, in this video, I wouldn't be able to tell you this applies to you, it doesn't, because that's, you know, what a consult's for, but generally it's no. If you answered yes, you would fill this out, but if you answered no, skip this, go continue forward. Your A number, if you're first time applying, you do not have an A number. You want to get DACA so that they can give you an A number and that they can give you a social security number. But if you're applying for the first time, you do not have an A number. Most likely, it may be that you do for some other immigration case. But if that's the case and you don't know, speak with an attorney. If you don't have a social security number, you could put NA. And you don't, I put NA just so that there is no problem with immigration. I've done applications where I don't put NA, but you know, just as a more of a practical tip, I just do that going forward so that there's less issue. You put your date of birth, the day you were born. This is not the date I was born, but it's just a date. You put your gender, male or female. Those are the only boxes available in those locations. Your city, town, village of birth, where you were born. So you could look on your birth certificate, you could find that information out. You know, you oftentimes, it may have a city and it may have a municipality, which is basically like a county in the US, in California, and it'll have state, country, so city, the country of birth. If you were born in Mexico, Mexico, current country of residence, where are you currently living as of filling out this application? If you're applying for DACA, it's most often going to be the USA. I don't believe I've ever seen it not be. If you're born in Mexico, it's highly likely and most likely you are a citizen of Mexico. So you put the country you're a citizen of. Marital status, married, widowed, single, divorced. Self-explanatory. If you're married to somebody, you put that, widowed, single, divorce, etc. Other names used. So if you ever use any other name, I don't know, like let's say you're a junior, let's say you have a nickname, let's say you use some other name for whatever reason. You have a middle name, sometimes you use it, sometimes you don't. You have two last names, sometimes you use one, sometimes you don't use the other. Put that other name used there. It's not a problem. Oftentimes, my experience hasn't been a problem, but like I said, every case is different, so it would depend. But if you've ever used any other name, for example, if it's just something like sometimes I use my middle name, sometimes I don't. I have two last names, I sometimes use one, not the other. I wouldn't be too stressed about it. Ethnicity, Hispanic or Latino, not Hispanic or Latino. Put which one applies to you. Your race, white, Asian, Black, or African American, American Indian, or Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian, or other Pacific Islander. It states select all applicable boxes. I know that the way USCIS defines like Native Americans, it's particular, like it has on the instructions, but basically you also have to currently belong to a tribe. So I know there's people, born in Latin America who are, mestizos, they're mixed, with, native individual ancestry, and then also European ancestry. And I know that for a lot of individuals, it may be, well, I don't feel too comfortable putting white. It states select all applicable boxes. I wouldn't be too stressed if you select, more than one, but just so that the way that USCIS defines the race, it has it on the instructions. But from what I remember, if in order to be an American Indian, you must have ties to, some sort of tribe, and you must be a current member. And I think that is where the difficulty is, but I wouldn't be too stressed about this as well. It's not going to make or break the DACA application. What is your height? You can get that information. You can measure yourself. So if you don't know, you can figure it out. But once you do know, put that information here. Your weight in pounds, your eye color, your hair color. These are the different, boxes. If you're a natural brunette, I believe is what brown is, but you dye your hair, put what your current hair color is. That's what you would go off of. Next part, I have been continuously residing in the US since at least June 15th, 2007 up until the present time. This is a requirement for DACA if you have only been here from 2008, 2009, or July 1st, 2007 up until now. You do not qualify for DACA. You must have been present on June 15th, 2007 up until now continuously. If you've been here before then, not a problem. It gets a little trickier if there's been departures, if you've exited the US, but let's say you just entered when you were a baby in 2002, you never left, not a problem. But yes, I have been continuously residing in the US. If you are not sure whether you have been continuously residing, speak to an attorney, but generally it's going to be yes if you do qualify. If you're not sure whether you do, reach out. Okay, so for initial requests, list your current address where you're currently living and, to the best of your knowledge, the addresses where you resided since the date of your initial entry into the US to present. So if you entered in 2002 and you've been here since, enter your addresses from 2002 up until now. If you entered in 2006, enter your addresses from 2006 up until now. And you would list that right here, from what date to what date, street number and name, apartment, suite, floor, if any, city or town, state, zip code. And it's fine if you don't know the exact date. I know it states to do it in the format of month, day, year, but if you don't know the specific date, you could always just put approximately January 2002. And in my opinion, I think that's better just because, you're being truthful. You can't pin it down to a specific date. So you're approximating that you were here since, this month, year up until this date. And that's the way I would do it. And then you fill it out until you have accounted for all the times that you've been here since. If you need more space, just put, see attached, see addendum, and create a list that has all the same information with the years that you need. And then once you're done with that, you bring it over to this top part, travel information. List all of your absences from the United States since June 15th, 2007. If you've never left, you could put NA, you could leave blank. You still have to answer question 8. Have you left the US without advance parole on or after August 15th, 2012? Generally, it's going to be no. If you got advance parole, it's yes. And if you did get it, you would put that information here. However, if you're an initial applicant, this is going to be a no. It's going to be blank. It may be that you've departed since you've entered. If that's the case, I would speak with an attorney, but that's the way you would deal with this information. Part 3, I initially arrive and establish residence in the US prior to 16 years of age. So that's another requirement for DACA. In order to qualify, you must have entered before you were 16 If you entered at 17 or once you were already 16, unfortunately, you do not qualify. If you entered when you were 15 and 8 months, 15 and 11 months, you still qualify. You have to show proof of that, but you would still qualify. Date of initial entry into the US, so on or about approximate date. Place of initial entry into the US, where did you enter? Was it Texas, California, Arizona, etc.? Put that information there. Immigration status on June 15th, 2012. So for DACA, you must not have had a lawful status on this date. If you're applying for the first time, it's very likely that on this date you did not have lawful status. If you're not sure, speak with an attorney, but if you just entered, you never left, entered without inspection, it's likely going to be no lawful status. Were you ever issued an arrival departure record, Form I-94? If you don't know what that is, it's likely that it's no for you. Education information, another requirement for DACA. Indicate how you meet the education guideline. Graduate from high school, receive a general education development certificate or equivalent state authorized exam, currently in school. How does it apply to you? How do you meet the education requirement? Put that here. Name, city, and state of school currently attending or where education received. Put that information here. Date of graduation, you know that. Were you a member of the U.S. Armed Forces or U.S. Coast Guard? Yes or no? Often no. Okay, so I wasn't able to finish the video the day before, so I'm picking up where we last left off. So military service, straightforward. Were you a member of the U.S. Armed Forces or U.S. Coast Guard? Most people are going to be no. I know there's some people that before were able to enroll, and then some people are getting their citizenship through that program. Last I had seen, researched, that was not a possibility. Maybe Biden might open that up again. I don't know. But at the moment, most people, it's going to be no. And if you answered yes, so were you a member of the U.S. Armed Forces or U.S. Coast Guard? Most people are going to be no. If you answered yes, then you fill out the next information. But if it's no, you leave that blank. Okay, criminal, part 4, criminal, national security, and public safety information. So if any of the following questions apply to you, use part 8, additional information, to describe the circumstances and include a full explanation. For most people, have you ever been arrested for, charged with, or convicted of a felony or a misdemeanor, including incidents handled in juvenile court in the U.S.? If any of this is if any of these questions apply to you, speak with an attorney or a nonprofit organization. But you're going to know if you've been arrested, if you've ever been charged. If you don't know, then it likely doesn't apply to you. If you don't know because you were detained, but you had handcuffs placed on you, but you were never taken to court, get a professional opinion. Never had any interaction with the police or anything like that, it's likely going to be no. If you answered yes, you must include a certified court disposition, arrest record, charging document, sentencing record, etc. for each arrest, unless disclosure is prohibited under state law. There might be some instances where you had a juvenile incident that because you were a juvenile, it stays there. It gets more into the nitty gritty, but basically, if you ever had a misdemeanor or anything like that, then you have to include a certified court disposition. Again, though, what I would say is if you have a misdemeanor or felony, speak with an attorney. Your case is more serious. I would not do it on your own. If you do, you're doing it at your own risk. The safest thing to do is if you have any sort of criminal issue, speak with an attorney. Have you ever been arrested for, charged with, or convicted of a crime in any country other than US? Generally, no. If it does apply, speak with an attorney. Have you ever engaged in, do you continue to engage in, or plan to engage in terrorist activities? So, I mean, I don't know whether you're going to do that. I mean, if you are, then you're not going to get DACA. If you plan to engage in that, you're not going to get DACA. If none of this applies to you, no. Are you now, or have you ever been a member of a gang? If you have, then it might create some issues in that you may not be eligible for DACA. If you've never been a member of a gang, no. Have you ever engaged in, ordered, incited, assisted, or otherwise participated in any of the following acts involving torture, genocide, or human trafficking? Have you ever done that? Yes or no. Killing any person? Yes or no. Severely injuring any person? Yes or no. Have you ever had any kind of sexual contact or relations with any person who was being forced or threatened? Yes or no. Have you ever recruited, enlisted, conscripted, or used any person to serve in or help an armed force or group while such person was under the age of 15? Yes or no. Have you ever used any person under age of 15 to take part in hostilities or to help to provide services to people in combat? Yes or no. If any of these are yes, speak with a professional. If you're not too sure about any of these, speak with an attorney. And then the next part, I can read and understand English and have read and understood each and every question and instruction on this form, as well as my answer to each question. If you can read it and understand English, you select this box. If you had someone assist you, an interpreter, then you would select this box, and then you would put that in what language they assisted you in. So the interpreter named in part 6 has read to me each and every question and instruction on this form, as well as my answer to each question in blank. So you put the language, if it's Spanish, in Spanish, a language in which I am fluent. I understand each and every question and instruction on this form as translated to me by my interpreter, and have provided true and correct responses in the language indicated above. If you didn't use an interpreter, you read and understand English, select this box, then you put the date and sign, and what you're signing to, you're certifying under penalty of perjury under the laws of the United States of America that the foregoing is true and correct, and that copies of documents submitted are exact copies of unaltered original documents. If you want to read the rest, you can, but basically you are stating that, you're declaring under penalty of perjury that everything you're saying is true and correct, that you are not committing fraud, you're not misrepresenting anything, everything is true and correct, and that's what you're signing and dating to. Then right here where it has requester's contact information, you put your phone number, your email. This part right here, interpreter's full name, this only applies if you are having an interpreter. They would fill this out right here with their name, interpreter's mailing address, and I won't get into that just because, most people are likely doing it themselves. But if they're getting help, the interpreter should know how to fill this out. If they don't, might need to get assistance from someone else. The next part is about the preparer. So if someone helped you fill out this form, then they would fill this out. They would know how to fill this out. If they don't, might reconsider getting their help. But it's pretty straightforward what the preparer needs to fill out there. If you're doing this on your own, you can leave the preparer and interpreter part blank. You don't need to put NA. It's fine. If you want to put NA, you can. Not applicable, you can. But it's fine like that. And pretty much that is the whole form. Even on the last page. So this is the last page. It has my name, but when you fill this out, it will pre-populate the information. However, since you do not have an A number, this is blank. If you needed extra space to put information, you would put the page number, the part number, item number, and then the information that's needed. If you need more space, do an addendum. Okay, so that is the I-821D form. The next form is the I-765 form, and A lot of the forms are similar. I mean, always on the top part, for USCIS use only, you leave this blank. The next part is filled out if you have an attorney assisting you. If you don't, leave a blank. Reason that you are applying. So if you're an initial applicant, initial. If you are renewing, you are renewing. If you are replacing, you're replacing. But for this video, it's initial. What is your full legal name? So my legal name. If you've ever used any other name, you put that information here. If you use a maiden name, whatever, you put that information here. Where do you receive mail? So what is your mailing address? So as I previously stated, there are some people that might have a physical address where they live and a different address where they receive mail. If that is the case, then right here on question 6, where is your current mailing address the same as your physical address? Yes or no. If it is not the same, you put no, and then you put your physical address where you live. So where you receive mail and where you live. If it is the same mailing address, then you just put yes and leave this part blank. Putting the zip code, alien number. If for initial applicants you have none, you can create a US online account number. I don't know whether you need an A number to do so, but you could try. I'm not too sure on that question. But if you create one, I mean, the only real benefit is just that when immigration uploads information, you will get the document sooner. You know, if you receive it in the mail, then you just have to wait. But I mean, the difference may only be a few days, maybe a week, maybe a week or two. That's the only real difference. It's not required if you choose. Okay, your gender, male or female, marital status, single, married, divorced, widowed. Have you previously filed I-765? No, this is your first time. Has the Social Security Administration ever issued a Social Security card to you? No, this is your first time. So then, do you want the Social Security Administration to issue a Social Security card? Yes. In order to get one, you do have to consent for immigration to disclose the information to the Social Security Administration. I mean, I guess you could probably decline, but if that were the case, then you yourself would have to go to the Social Security Administration and request the card yourself. I've never really heard of that. I mean, I guess you could theoretically do it, but the quickest way to get that the Social Security card is just to put yes and allow for USCIS to send this information to the Social Security Administration. And what they just need is, what is the name of your father? What is the name of your mother? That's it. What country are you a citizen of? If you're born in Mexico, you are more than likely not a citizen of Mexico. If you're a citizen of whatever, which other country, you put that there. Place of birth, what city were you born in? What is the state you were born in? And what country, and your date of birth. Information about your last arrival in the US. We went over the I-94 in the I-821D form. If you have one, you probably know what it is. I mean, it's a little square card. Let me see, I will pull it up just so you can see what it looks like. So give me one sec. So this is what the I-94 looks like. It has your stamp. That's pretty much it. I mean, they look different. It may have different things, different dates, different names, of course. But that's pretty much what it looks like. So if you don't have one of those, leave blank. If you have a passport number of your most recently issued passport, you put that here. Travel document number, if any, place it there. Country that issued your passport, straightforward. What's the expiration date and date for your passport? Sometimes on the passports they have days first, month second, so just be mindful of that and put it correctly. Here in the US it's month, day, year. In other countries it's day, month, year, so just be mindful of that. date of your last arrival into the US, on or about. So if you know the exact date, I mean, I would put that here. If you don't, again, I would just do approximates. I entered approximately in July 1997, for example, and I just put the little squiggly line, the tilde, I believe, is what it is called, and whatever day was of your approximate arrival, put that there. Place of your last arrival into the US, what state? If you know the city, great. If not, I just put the state. Immigration status at your last arrival. Most often it's undocumented, or it could even be that you entered 1R, entered without inspection. If you enter with a tourist visa, you can put that. If you enter with some other sort of visa, you would put that there. But oftentimes it's that you enter without inspection. What is your current immigration status? It's likely that you're undocumented or that you have no legal status, no lawful status. I would just put, if you don't have a status, and it's likely you don't, no lawful status. This is likely not going to apply to you if you're applying for DACA. It's the Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. So leave that blank. The category for DACAs is C33. And that's what you're applying under. That's the deferred action category under the Code of Federal Regulations for these kinds of work permit cases. And all these other questions apply to different categories. If you are applying for DACA, this is what you would put, and that's the last question that you would really answer. All these other ones you leave blank. So if you answered yes to item 30.A, this question, then so my apologies. So 30 C8 eligibility category. These all these other questions from 30A to 30G all the way to down here, they only apply if you are applying for a work permit under the C8 category. If you're applying for DACA, this doesn't apply to you, so leave this blank. This is also blank. And applicant statement, again, do you read and understand English? If you do, select this. If you don't, an interpreter helped you, put the language that they helped you in. If someone else helped you fill this out, then they would fill out this information. What is your phone number, email address? You can put that there. This might apply to some people, but I don't think so if they're recently applying for DACA. If you don't know what that is, speak with an attorney. And then again, you declare and certify under penalty of perjury that everything you're saying is true and correct. You can read this yourself to get a sense of what you are signing. But if you agree and this is true, these statements, the statement from here all the way to statement right here, then you would sign right here. And the same information about interpreter's information and preparer is the same as the I-821D form, the DACA form, and that's pretty much it. The next and last form is the Form I-765 worksheet. If you're applying for employment authorization under the C14 deferred action or C33 consideration of deferred action for childhood arrivals, this is most often, most if not always, what it's going to be. There is deferred action for other kinds of cases, but for the DACA program, it's the C33 category, so you don't even have to worry about understanding this. You must complete this worksheet so that we can determine whether you have an economic need to work in the spaces provided. Indicate your current annual income, your current annual expenses, and the total current value of your assets. Supporting evidence is not required, but USCIS will accept and review any documents that you submit. You do not need to include other household members' financial information to establish your own economic necessity. So what is your name? Put that here. You put the value of your assets here. If you don't have any assets, 0. And then here, there's no specific thing that you have to say, no magical words in the explanation portion. But what it states is, if you would like to provide an explanation regarding your current financial information or your economic need for employment authorization, use the space below. And for that, I mean, you could put whatever applies to you. I would put it there. I would put at least a few sentences. I mean, it may be that, you're a student, you want to pay for your school expenses, you're in college, put that. That's totally fine. Let's say you're working, you have kids, you want to support them, support your family, that's fine as well. Say something about that. You can put that there. I'm going to school. I want to pay for my own expenses. I have expenses. I have to pay for books. I have to pay for tuition. I have to pay for gas, and I want to be able to provide for myself. That's why I need a work permit. Something along those lines. And like I said, there's no magical words. Just explain why you need to work, and that should be more than fine. Okay, so those are all the forms. So the G1145, we went over that. This is what you need to fill out. You need to fill out the bottom portion of the G1145. And then on the DACA form, we went over that, the 821D. Go on the USCIS website to get the most recent forms. You also need to fill out the I-765 and the I-765WS form. It's all on the DACA page. And those are all the forms you need. I mean, I would say that if you're doing this on your own, you probably have an idea as to how this is going to be filled out. In addition, what kind of evidence you need to include. If you're not too sure, speak with an attorney. You can call us, you can speak with a nonprofit. I mean, I'd say do either one of those. In addition, if you're not too sure how to fill this out, you're not too sure what you need, speak with an attorney or nonprofit. It's better to get it right the first time rather than having to, spend money, have it denied, have to do it again. Just do it right the first time. Once you get it approved, it's generally very straightforward to renew. So let's say you get an attorney the first time, it may be the case that, it's approved for the second time around. If you're just renewing the work permit, I mean, you don't need to reprove all the things that you submitted the first time for DACA. Generally, if nothing has changed, you don't have any criminal history, your renewal should be pretty straightforward. So although you got an attorney the first time, it may be that you don't need an attorney to review. You may want one just to be safe, but it may be the case that you don't need one. So just an FYI. And I won't be in this video discussing the specific evidence that is needed, but hopefully this was of some use in assisting you fill out the DACA application. So if you learned something, if you found this helpful, if this helped you fill out your DACA application, let me know by hitting that like button and consider subscribing to get more information about immigration tips and assistance with immigration cases. Thank you and have a great day.